we were able to work our way through it, and I thought we got things accomplished. And the guys stayed focused and on the job at hand. So I was proud of it and proud of the guys the way all of us handled it. The organization. I mean, the plan that they had: Rick Burkholder, Mark Donovan, Mitch Reynolds, and Kirsten was involved during the summer. These people gave up their summers to make sure that we could pull this off safely. Rocco, who's in charge of our facility here, and his crew. So, it's important though that we don't pull the pedal off the gas here, that we continue on in all the directions that have been presented this camp. So, and then we continue to focus on the things we need to do, not only to play the Texans, but also going forward, obviously with the racial situations.
Go to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, raising the flag is just another one of the steps in, celebrating the Super Bowl. For you, what kind of emotions, going through your mind out there watching the flag going up, and how much are you looking to be able to celebrate that with at least 16,000 people on Thursday night?
Yeah, well, it's a neat deal. So it's phenomenal. The thing we've done though, we tried to focus the best we can on just going forward, but this was a great kind of cap on it, as I'm sure at the beginning of Thursday will. But the Texans are coming to town, so we understand that, and we've got to make sure we're ready for a heck of a football team. We know how good they are, and heck, we played them enough and gone back and forth with these guys, and so it should just be a phenomenal game for the fans and those people watching on TV. And it's exciting for the coaches and players to get ready to have that kind of competition to open with.
Let's go Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Good morning, Coach. With this being super unique, I imagine we won't talk to you until you start Texans week at the end of next week. I just was wondering what happens with the team between now and the cutdown date.
Yeah, so they'll get a day off tomorrow, and then they'll be back at it. We'll start our in-season type practices. Not that we're necessarily working all Texans. That's not necessarily what we're doing, but we're getting them used to these in-season practices where you have the walkthrough in the morning, the practice in the early afternoon, and that kind of routine that they'll be going through once we start the Texans week. It's really not different than what we've done in the past when we break camp at St. Joe. We come back and we do the same thing. So
looks like we've got two more hands up. Let's go Darren and then Todd to close it out. Go ahead, Darren.
Hey, Coach. Good morning to you. A couple questions. Obviously, you raised the banner and stuff up today. When do you all receive your Super Bowl rings? And then secondly, how does opening up the season differ on a Thursday night like you did against New England a few years ago, compared differently to open up on the Sunday?
Yeah, so we get the Super Bowl rings here pretty quick. I think they're going to probably announce that here somewhere. I'm going to leave that up to Ted to announce it, but it's put the pressure back on him. It's coming though, and our players are fired up about it, and we'll just it should be a great evening and an opportunity then to move forward and kind of put that behind you and get ready for the next season. And then hit me with that last part.
Yes or no. So how does starting or opening up on a Thursday night differ from a Sunday when you all played New England a few years ago and now you're open up the season? Have does that differ from normal preparation than you would?
Yeah. So the days are different by name, but really they're the same by season. So we'll still have the Monday, the Tuesday, even though it's a different day of the week, but we'll treat it the exact same way that we have in the past and get ourselves ready to go. We started early, so there was a little bit of you're the first show to start here, and everybody's watching, both us and the Texans, but listen, everybody's in it now and they're grinding their way through it, and it'd be good just to get to game week and get ourselves headed in one direction, and that's getting ready to play, the Texans.
Go to Todd Lebo to close it out. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Coach, you're coming off winning the Super Bowl, so it's obviously you've got a very good team, but as you've made it through camp, what are the biggest areas of concern you have with your squad right now, if any?
Yeah, well, we've got a couple of guys nicked up, but not much. And, but you want to get everybody healthy and ready to go and maintain that through the next less than couple of weeks here. So before we get ready, but at the same time, stay in good football shape, which they've worked hard to put themselves in to. And then really it's like every first game, you've got to prepare for a variety of things because you don't know exactly what the menu they're going to present to you. So you've got to make sure offensively, defensively, and special teams that you have many of the bases covered as you can. And at the same time, get yourself ready with whatever you're going to do. And it's always nice at the end of camp to be able to narrow it down. You have this huge menu that you're working off of with plays on both sides of the ball. And all of a sudden now you can kind of focus it in, and it's almost a relief to the players that they don't have to memorize 1,000 plays, but you can narrow it down to their, the base stuff that you're going to go into the game with.
Coach, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you during camp too, folks. Thank you.
All right, guys. I believe we have Patrick coming up next for you. Hey, Patrick, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you.
Well, if we're ready to get started, we'll start with Darren Smith. Go ahead, Darren.
Hey, Patrick, how you doing this morning? Wanted to get your thoughts on obviously the passing of Chadwick Boseman. I know you're probably a big fan of his, but also you had comments that you made with Peter King earlier this week about fans who may not be supportive, but fancy themselves as Chiefs fans. But of course, the comments and stuff that they've made, on your timeline and Tyron's timeline about what you all are doing for voter registration and Black Lives Matter. Could you kind of expound on that if you would?
Yeah, the first part with Chadwick Boseman, I mean, obviously a huge fan of all of his work, and then at the same time, I got to be on the shop with him right after the season, and I got to meet him after that. We obviously had a conversation there, and then we went to the the NBA All-Star game, and we sat right beside each other. His wife, my girlfriend, they talked. Just great people, and obviously rest in peace to him. Was a great person, so total respect and total fan of him and his work. And then to go with the second part of the question, yeah, I mean it's more of I'm going to do what I believe and what I believe is right, and I'm going to do whatever I can to fight for equality for all people. And I feel like I've shown that over this offseason. I'm going to continue that fight, and I'm not worried about people how they're going to do negative stuff back to me. I'm worried about doing what's right for humanity and making sure that all people feel equal.
Let's go to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Pat, how you doing today?
Doing good.
Good. Hey, a couple things. First of all, you guys have been so good offensively, particularly on opening day since you've been here, and that includes your rookie year, that game in New England. Not that you guys haven't been good on offense other days as well, but what is it? Is there something you can point to, your preparations, game plan, whatever it might be for opening day that allows you guys to be so on point on those particular days? And also wanted to go back something you said after you signed your contract. You talked about the length of the contract, but you felt comfortable in part because Brett Veach you felt like was going to be here. What specifically about him do you like as far as going forward with him as the general manager?
Yeah, well, the first part of your question, as far as the offense goes, I think that goes with the full team. I mean, Coach Reid runs a great training camp. I think that's a big part of it. He puts us in situations that are really game-like. Which I feel like is a huge advantage, especially with no preseason games. I mean, he's putting us in these situations every single day where we might not be tackling full, but we're putting in situations where we're in third and long, third and short, trying to figure out ways to go out throughout a game and situations that you'll be a part of. So I feel like that's why we start so fast and because we're ready right out of the gate because of the training camp that coach runs. And then the second part of your question, can you say the second part of your question one more time about Veach one more time?
Just when you guys hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, sorry. When you signed your contract, I asked you why you felt so comfortable going so long into the future. And among the other reasons, you said, well, I feel like Brett Veach is going to be here for that whole time. And so what specifically about Brett do you feel comfortable with working with him for a long period of time?
I think first off is his work ethic. I mean, he's a guy that's in the facility almost as much as Coach Reid. I mean, he's here all the time. He's watching a ton of film. And then I think it's someone that you can trust and someone that's going to tell you exactly how he feels. And to have people like that you can go to, he's going to tell you the negative, he's going to tell you the positive, whatever it is, no matter who you are. That's someone that you can really trust because you know that they're going to give you whatever they have every single day.
Let's go to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Patrick, good to see you, man. You guys are finishing up camp. We're going to get to talk to Clark right after you. I remember when you signed your contract, you said that, you can't do this for every organization. Just what has Clark's leadership been like for you to watch, and what does it mean to him that he's been so proactive in your guys' efforts off the field as well?
Yeah, I mean, it shows this organization is ran the right way. And Clark being at the top of it all the way down, I mean, they hire people and they put people in position to be the best that they can be every single day. And they're the same way with us. They communicate with us whenever we want to communicate with them. And we have those open conversations and we thoroughly listen to each other. And so I feel like that's why you get such a great culture that we have here and such great players. And we go out in the field and we win football games. So we really trust each other every single day.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Pat, on this year's Hard Knocks, we got to see some internal discussions about the social justice stuff. And one of the frustrations was just how much emphasis there is on whether or not you're going to kneel. So not asking that, but why is that so frustrating as one of the faces of the league, that there's just so much emphasis on maybe the gesture and not the message behind the gesture?
I mean, I think you said it exactly what it is. It's because it's became something where it's whether or not you're going to kneel instead of what the reason why the kneeling began in the beginning, which was social injustice and police brutality. And I feel like that's been the biggest thing is it's not necessarily the gesture, but we're trying to fix something. We're trying to make it where it's equal for everybody. Everybody feels safe. Everybody feels secure. Everybody can go about living their life. And they really truly care about the person next to them. And I feel like that's why people feel like it's became such a thing. It's because every single time you get interviewed or you go out and you're in public, people are asking, are you going to kneel? Are you not going to kneel? They're not asking about the actual injustices that you're trying to fix and what you're trying to help the community with.
We've got time for a couple more guys. Let's go Todd Lebo and then Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Patrick. The rookies this year, I think, have an incredible challenge. Playing their first ever snap of their NFL lives in an actual game. Can you even understand how tough that's going to be for those guys? I mean, you got to play in all the preseason games and sit and watch for a while. How tough is it going to be to actually have your first snap of the National Football League be in a real game?
Yeah, I mean, it'll 100% be different. I mean, not being able to go about it, run the offense in a game. I mean, I think it's more you running a new system. You're coming from college to a new system. You have to run that offense, play fast without thinking, but still execute and do what you're supposed to do every single play. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for them. But like I said, I think Coach Reid runs a great training camp, and he puts those guys in those situations. And he puts those rookies. We've had rookies run with the ones. We've had rookies run with the threes. We've had them run with the twos. They're really putting every single situation for them to go out there and thrive and deal with adversity. And so I think that's going to be the biggest challenge, is just how you deal with adversity quickly and how you get back and go out there and be a positive impact on the team.
Let's go to Matt Derrick to close us out. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Patrick, the raising of the flag is just, one in the latest, round of celebrating the Super Bowl win. I'm curious, what were your thoughts as far as that goes up? And on that Thursday night, you've seen from the sidelines what goes on at a Super Bowl championship in 2017. How much are you just looking forward to all of that that's going to be going on, even if it's not going to be a full stadium?
Yeah, I think I'm just looking forward to being back in Arrowhead playing football for the Kansas City Chiefs. And the championship banner is going to be special. It's going to be something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. And I'm glad that we have a lot of the same guys on the team that were with me for that journey. And we're going to enjoy that together, and then we're going to get right back to playing and try to find a way to go get another one.
Patrick, we appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, hang tight. We've got Clark coming up next.
Yeah, I sure can.
We're ready to start when you are.
Okay, great. Well, it's good to see everybody. It's great to be at Arrowhead. I enjoyed watching practice today, having our fans out there for it, and of course, raising that Super Bowl 54 championship flag. A very special moment for my brother and I think the team, the coaches as well.
Let's go to Adam Teicher to start us off. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Clark, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Congratulations on that new book of yours.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Now you got to read it now. So, hey, wanted to ask you a couple things, Clark. We have not had a chance to talk to you since Pat's new contract. First off, what was your role in all of that beyond maybe what you normally would have on a bigger contract, like say Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, going back to last year, Frank Clark, and also what layer or layers of difficulty did the pandemic add to doing that? Was it difficult for the organization to proceed with a contract of that magnitude, not knowing where the future might be going?
Yeah. Well, just starting with my role, I've mentioned to you guys before on all of our big contracts, I'm very actively involved with our staff, with Brett and his team in terms of working up the proposals and exactly where we want to go as we go through the process. Obviously, the timing was a big issue on this particular extension. Not only because it was Patrick coming off the Super Bowl, but because we were dealing with a pandemic as well. I think you guys saw during the summer, there were very few big contracts done. And we just decided internally that we were going to move ahead. We know we've got a special group of players here, a young core of players who just won a championship and have a chance to win hopefully several more. And we just thought it was important to go ahead, get Patrick done, and then later be able to get Chris done and Kelce extended. So yeah, it took a little bit of nerve, I would say. There were definitely some days where I was like, I'm not sure this is the right thing because we didn't even know we were going to have a season. We don't know what the salary cap is going to be next year. But we were able to construct the contracts in a way that we'll be able to navigate whatever happens, and huge plus for the Chiefs. And we're obviously delighted to have those players here for the long term.
Go to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Clark, how are you?
Great, thanks.
We've seen, especially this summer, a lot of athlete-led demonstrations about social injustices. You had mentioned in 2017 that you had told your players, you'd prefer that they would stand for the national anthem. I'm wondering if that's still the case, and if you've had any conversations with players about demonstrations that they might have on opening night.
Yeah, so I've not had any conversation with the players on those issues. I would say that, we're in a very different place as a country. These issues are very important to our players. They're important to our coaching staff, our entire organization. And this is a time to be sensitive. It's a time to listen. It's a time to understand. And I recognize that, around the league, there may be some kneeling that goes on with the national anthem. And I just think the country's in a really different place at this point.
Let's go to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Clark, good morning. You mentioned some of the extensions there earlier, and then Brett Veach has done a phenomenal job building a championship roster. He worked some magic to get a deal done with Jones, extensions done on Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and I'm curious, how much thought has gone into extending Brett? And if there is some thought to that, how close are you?
Yeah, well, we're very lucky to have Brett as part of our organization. You're exactly right. He's done an amazing job over the last 3 years of taking a really good roster and turning it into a championship roster. And I think it's a roster now that's going to have a chance for multiple years to be a contender for the Super Bowl. He's done an outstanding job. He works extremely well with Coach Reid. He also has a great rapport with our players. So he's somebody that we want here for the long term. We tend to not talk about contract extensions until they're done, but just suffice it to say that we're fortunate to have Brett here and hope he's here a very long time.
Let's go to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Clark, I have two questions for you, and thanks for doing this. You mentioned that the country is in a different time right now. I just wondered if you could explain a little bit more in detail how your team may be able to better reflect where the country is moving in terms of helping social justice? And then secondly, Mark Donovan mentioned the idea of Arrowhead perhaps being a polling booth on election day. Just what would it mean for you guys if you are and be alongside the Chiefs in obviously democracy being an important part of the country?
Yeah. Nate, you broke up there a little bit, but I think I got most of the question. Going back to the beginning of the summer, we've had a lot of conversations with the leadership group on the team related to the social justice issues. It's not something that's new to the Kansas City Chiefs, really going all the way back to the 1960s and 1970s. My dad really encouraged the players to get out there and use their platform to make a difference in the community. A lot of those efforts over the decades have been focused on things that benefit the minority communities. And we're certainly more focused on that than ever. What I've really appreciated the last couple of years is how engaged the leaders on our team are. And I'll just take Patrick and Tyron as examples. They're very engaged. They want to make a difference. They want to do things that are going to make our country better, things that are going to help us get along as a country. You referenced Arrowhead being a polling station. That's one of their big issues is voter registration and getting people out to vote. And so we've worked with them, and we're working with some organizations here locally to try to encourage people to get out to vote. We've made an effort to get all of our players registered to vote here. And then the icing on the cake would be if we could have Arrowhead as a polling station. We don't know if that's going to work out, but we've had some really good dialogue at some of the highest levels with the state, and we hope it does.
Let's go to Blair Kirchhoff. Go ahead, Blair.
Mark, also this summer and the awareness raising of Native American imagery, and I'm just wondering how your feelings have evolved over the course. The Chiefs have banned the headdresses and certain types of face paint, but I wonder how your feelings have evolved about the Native American imagery and your feelings on the Arrowhead chop.
Yeah, well, I think really going back 70 years ago when we started the dialogue with our Native American working group here in Kansas City, that group represents approximately 30 tribes around the Midwest. It was a real learning experience for the organization. I heard Mark Donovan the other day, mention just how much he learned, how much we learned as an organization. We learned that the face paint and the headdresses were a big issue for the tribes. And we started at that point trying to discourage our fans from bringing them to the stadium. We made some progress on that over the last 6 years. And of course, this summer we took the next step, which is outright banning them from bringing them into the stadium. I think the important thing on the entire subject has been how important the education has been. It's something that's important to the American Indians, both from a cultural heritage standpoint and just preserving their traditions. But it's also a way of educating our fans that these things are offensive to them. So instead of just coming outright 7 years ago and banning it, we've had this education process that's gotten us to the point where we are today. We've now expanded our relationship beyond just the group in the Midwest that we've been working with. We're working with the National Congress of American Indians. They represent over 570 tribes throughout North America, and we've had some really good conversations with them. They want us to expand our education. They want to work with us on that to even really take that to a higher level. And I'm sure there'll be some steps down the road we take on other things related to our game day production.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney next. Go ahead, Pete.
Good morning, Clark. As the league's financial chair, just how difficult has it been to forecast everything that goes along with the losses in COVID? And maybe what are some strategies that you foresee the league taking really the next decade to get over some of the things that happened this year?
Yeah, well, no doubt about it. Across professional sports, this is going to be one of the most difficult years ever. Certainly in the last 40 or 50 years, there probably will not be a year like it. pretty mumuch everybody is going to lose a lot of money, and there's just no way around it. The forecasting for the contingencies has also been very difficult. And I think you guys saw it as we worked through the summer. At times there was question about whether we would even have a season this year. If we had a season, is it going to be 16 games? Are we going to have fans in attendance? Who can have fans, et cetera? So there's had to be a whole lot of contingency planning, a lot of preparation to be able to absorb the losses. In terms of long term, I'd like to be an optimist and think that a year from now, certainly 2 years from now, we're going to be, past the pandemic, and things will be, somewhat back to normal, or hopefully all the way back to normal. So hopefully we can get back to where we were. But I think one thing that we've learned this year is to expect the unexpected, and that's just where we are, and you've got to be prepared for it.
We've got time for a couple more guys. Let's go Matt, Derek, and then Steve Walls to close it out. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Clark, I appreciate your time as always. Relating to Blair's question about the Native American imagery, I'm curious, how many conversations have you had, and what have they been about the Chiefs name and the Arrowhead name? And if there haven't been any discussions about those names, what's the difference between the Chiefs and, say, the Washington football team and Cleveland's baseball team in their names?
Well, I'll probably stay away from comparisons to the Washington football team or teams in other sports. We've just had a lot of very constructive conversations, and I've been part of those conversations with the leaders at the highest level. And we know the issues that they care about. The name and the name of the stadium are not things that are high on their list. I don't want to project what's going to happen in the future, but I do know that we've got the right dialogue going on. These organizations know that we're sincere, that we want to help them, that we want to help what they want to do from an education standpoint. I'm sure there will be more changes in the future, as I mentioned, to our game day production. But they were very supportive of our decision to eliminate the face paint and the headdresses this year, and we'll just continue the dialogue from there.
Let's go to Steve Walls with the last one. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Clark, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, when you talked about it a little bit earlier, but when you think about your dad, Lamar Hunt, and his support for Black athletes in the 1960s, when he selected, of course, Buck Buchanan and Otis Taylor from historically Black colleges, at a time when there may have been some backlash due to the racial tension, how much of what your dad did do you try to emulate as you go with handling things today with your organization as racial issues are going on in the world?
Yeah. Well, my dad set a great example for me and my siblings on a lot of issues. And probably his greatest strength was how he treated people. And he didn't care where you came from, what your background was, what your race was. He treated everybody he met with respect and appreciation. And that's been a lesson that, we've all learned. And, just bringing it forward to what's going on with racial equality and social injustice, I think Andy probably said it as well as anyone. We just need to love our neighbor. And if we'll do that, this world's going to be a whole lot better place.
Clark, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much.